This is J. Krishnamurti's third discussion with teachers at Rishi Valley, 1978.
We were talking about comparison. Why human beings throughout the world compare themselves with somebody else. Having set an example, and then they try to imitate, copy, conform to that pattern. From childhood, we were brought up to compare in schools, colleges, universities. It's all the cultivation of measurement. And whether in a school of this kind, could we not dispense altogether with any sense of comparison, better marks and better examinations, the whole setup. And we said, what is the cause, the root cause of comparison? Why we always measure our actions, our thoughts, our feelings against a standard set by the whole movement of thought. I don't know if you're following all this. And having set an example, either externally or for ourselves, that standard or that principle or that idea, which is essentially the action of thought. I hope you're, am I going all right? And then any movement away from that we call deviation. That is, one thought having established a certain conclusion, and any other thought away from that conclusion is a distraction. Right? I'm not trying to teach you, sir, but you know this. Perhaps. And actually there is no distraction at all. That's what because one thought opposes another thought. And the thought that is moving away from that which has been concluded is considered deviation. So there's no deviation. And we went also into the question of attention. Please correct me if I'm not representing it accurately what we talked about yesterday. Where was I?
Attention.
Attention. After all, a school is a place where one learns, at least limited to that time between school and the end of university. During those periods of 10 years or 18 years or 20 years, there's the accumulation of knowledge, and that's called learning. And the rest of the whole existence of man is neglected. So, can we consider the whole of existence plus the little part, including the little part, and be educated to comprehend and not intellectual but actually live our daily life, including the whole of life? That seems to me, if I'm subject to correction from all your, that is the right kind of education. Not just academic training, a job, and the rest of it. marriage and they begin the whole misery of existence. And is it possible to learn without compulsion, without coercion, without pressure? And you can only learn if you have the capacity to listen. You can only, and listening implies attention. Right, sir? Right? Am I going along what we discussed yesterday? Attention. So if we bear in mind that there is no distraction, then whatever you are looking at, whether it's a bird or a flower or a person, when you look completely. In a boy or a girl in a class is not paying attention to what you are saying, but is looking out of the window. Help him to look out of the window at what he's looking at with complete attention. You also look, so that the student or the girl or boy learns the meaning of attention, in which there is no distraction. Right? And we came to yesterday, can we, with a class of 10 as educators, help them to listen and in that very act of listening become aware what attention is. That's where we left off, if we remember rightly, isn't that it?
Yeah.
How is an educator with a class of them to listen and so give total attention? That's the problem we left yesterday. I don't know whether the other people have thought about it, gone into it, or merely forgotten all about it.
In fact, we discussed last night, a few of us, especially from Bangalore. You say there is no distraction at all.
That's a tremendous.
Yeah.
I don't know if we understand that.
I think that
basic
needs
question.
A lot of clarification.
Yeah.
If you say there is no distraction at all, and every moment of thought could be a moment of attention.
Which means thought itself is a distraction.
Right.
I don't.
As we
Have we understood this? When one thought comes to a conclusion, an idea or an ideal, a principle, and that any movement away from that is a distraction. That is, thought has established a principle, a point, and moving away, another thought moving away from it is called distraction. Right?
Yes.
It is still the movement of thought. Right? So thought itself may be a distraction. I don't know if you can
from what you say,
No,
the point is itself crystallization of thought
That's right.
in a certain interest.
In
you
certain
say,
cadre, in certain
in a
framework and
you
so
say
on.
this is the thing we must do now.
Yeah.
And that itself is a crystallization of thought. And in that there is no attention, but
Yes.
a kind of concentration.
Yes.
We can bring into being a state of attention which is not crystallization of thought of that point, at that point.
Quite right.
If that is possible, then concentration and distraction doesn't arise.
That's right.
But what happens is, in any situation, there is a crystallization of thought as a focus of interest. And then you say, it becomes a thought form, and you don't want to move away from it. And if someone else moves away from it, you say, now come on, do this.
That's it. Yes, quite right.
Now, much of instruction is a crystallization of a thought form. To some extent, it is of the nature of concentration, though it could be the nature of attention. The difficulty for the normal teacher is he only lives at the thought level, and the crystallization of thought as a focus of interest is what he is concerned with. And if the student goes away from it, he drags him back to that. He doesn't understand a situation where there is no crystallization of thought as a focus of interest, and where there is the energy of attention.
Are we clear what we're saying to each other? I'm not quite sure I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying what you're saying is not correct, but I want to know what you're saying. I'm a teacher in a school. I've got 10 children. My intention is friendly and all that, leave all that aside. My intention is that they should learn not only the academic side, but the whole of life, with all its confusion, uncertainty, insecurity, power, position, status, money, sex, all the complexities of existence. I want them to understand this. Because to me, as an educator, I am the most important person in society. Not the businessman, not the politician, not the professor. As a teacher, I am the greatest importance, and therefore I have the greatest dignity, greatest respect, because I am preparing a new generation of people coming to the world. I regard that as something of supreme importance, and therefore with it goes a great sense of dignity. Now, how am I to convey to these students, 10 of them, to learn? That's my concern. I don't want them to learn under pressure. Then there's no learning at all. I don't want them to learn in terms of punishment or reward. Right? I don't want to force them to learn. I want them to learn happily, which means there must be a quality of attention in which there is no sense of saying, don't be distracted. That's my whole concern. How am I to do that? That is the principle or the framework or the cadre in which I work. I don't know if you're interested in this as teachers. Won't we discuss this, sir? Is that your interest? I'll help him to pass an examination, if he must, at the end of 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is. But I'm not concerned with that. I'm only concerned most deeply and with complete responsibility that he should have a good academic training and understand his life and not be caught in a trap of society, of all that. So that's my urge, my interest, my concern, my affection, my care for for the student. Now, how am I to carry this out? Right? Come on, sirs, discuss. This is a dialogue. No, I'm not talking to myself or you. I'm talking to you. We are investigating together the problem. What are you and what are we as educators to do? Given this, that they must have excellent academic training and also excel in the way of living. How would you do it? What will you do? After all, this is a challenge. Probably most teachers haven't this kind of challenge. We are offering you a challenge. Well, how do you respond to it?
First, I see to that it doesn't waste much of energy in the learning of, say, mathematics.
No, sir, forgive me to interrupt you. Not a subject. I desire, I wish, or I care that you should have the art of learning, not a subject. I don't know if I'm conveying this. Not mathematics, geography, or biology, or this or that, but the capacity to learn. Let's investigate a little bit. What is the capacity to learn? What does it mean to learn? Not mathematics, to learn. I don't know if I'm...
Curiosity.
What?
Curiosity.
Little, yes.
Openness of some sort.
To be aware of the whole movement of life.
No, sir. No. You're missing my point. To learn, sir.
I think it's just to understand, sir. To understand, comprehend. To understand everything.
So if I may point out, I want you to learn.
That is to understand.
No, just a minute. Learn. It may be to understand, but I won't say, for instance, I'm your teacher. Forgive me. I'm not your teacher, but I'm just saying I'm your teacher for the time being. I want you to learn. And you say to me, what do you mean by learning? You're quite right. You say, what do you mean by learning? What's the act of learning?
To be open.
Huh?
To be open.
No.
Listening.
Huh?
Listening.
Well,
Who is saying?
listening.
Who is saying this?
Catch it.
Listen. Yeah, all right. Say listen. What do you mean by listening?
Passive awareness.
Huh? Oh no, you're quoting what I'm... Forget what I've said, sir, for God's sake. No, you're not paying attention. You're just quoting some idiot. And it becomes idiocy if you quote.
I think we must make our mind empty first, without any prejudice or anything. Then we must listen that And then if you think about that one, that is one way of learning, I think. Without any prejudice or any our own opinions. If you listen carefully, then if you think about that one,
Which means what? That you listen.
yes, what you are saying.
No, listen, right?
Yes.
Not what I am saying, but
What
to
you are
listen
saying.
to the birds, to the
Yes.
trees, to the river, to the winds, to the... If I were to listen.
No exclusion in that.
Huh?
There is no exclusion in listening.
Yeah. Are you doing that now? Are you actually, when you say there's nothing excluded, that you are actually listening? Are you? Or you have all kinds of activity going on while you are listening? So how will you, as educators, help the student to listen? I believe if you can help him to listen, you have done everything. How will you, as educators, and how shall we help the student to listen? Go on, sir, please tell me.
So can you listen when you're thinking?
Huh?
Can you listen when you're thinking? Because most of the time we think.
So so you can't listen
If you're thinking.
if you are not, yes, if you are thinking. Are you saying this?
Yes.
Are you doing it?
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
sir,
no.
just go slowly. Is this a theory or an actual fact?
Actual fact.
That is, when you are listening to this man,
Yes.
are you not thinking?
I'm not able to stop my thinking.
And then, you see, you become immediately theoretical. When you say the art of learning is to listen, and to listen, your mind must have this total attention. Have you got that? Have you, when you listen to that noise of the washerman, are you listening completely?
Thoughts coming, sir.
Hmm?
Thoughts coming.
So how will you prevent thought coming in? You follow, see the complexity of the problem, not just say, well, I listen. You see, for example, this person says, there is no distraction. Do you listen to that? Not say, well, what do you mean by, of course there is distractions. You follow? Moment you hear a statement with which you are not familiar, immediately you have reactions going one after the other. Right, sir? Can you listen without reaction? Just listen. If you can't listen, how are you going to help the student to listen? After all, listening is like a seed planted in the earth. then the very seed begins to grow, flower. But we don't let a statement, either false or true, enter through the ears and so on, with the hearing with the ear, but we're always blocking it. I don't know if you're following what I'm saying. So my concern is, as an educator, how am I going to help the student to listen? Go on, give answer, sir.
May I ask you a question?
Delighted.
All right when we talk about generality, but when we are teaching a subject
Yes.
where thought is connected.
Wait, I'm coming to that. What do you want him to do? You're teaching him a subject, right? And you want him to listen.
To listen.
Huh? How will you help him to listen? So that he understands, he catches what you're saying instantly.
No, I mean, listen then means free of thought.
Huh? No, just a minute. You are teaching history or mathematics or whatever.
History, a subject where thought is connected.
Yeah. Now, how will you help him to listen to what you're saying? To what you are saying? Because he's looking somewhere else, he's not interested, he's bored, he's pulling somebody's hair, kicking somebody under the table, and so on, so on, so on. How will you help him to listen? If he can listen to you, the problem is finished. Isn't it? No?
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes.
So how will you help him to listen?
But each student is different.
There are 10 of them. I
different.
said 10
Yes,
of them in the class.
Their
How will...
differences are different. So
I know, sir.
At a time it is.
Huh?
At a time, it is not possible to make them.
I wonder. Don't say it's not possible. Let's find out.
Because 10 students, they are different.
I know,
their
sir.
interests are different. Their views are different.
Yes, I know all that. I know all that. But there may be a way of helping them all to listen.
Now, when I am not interested in history, how can I listen?
I'm going to find out.
That,
I'm going to find out why you're not. So I'm not, you see, you're not getting the principle of it. It is essential the students listen, right? In my class, there are 10 students with contradictory, all the rest of it. How am I going to help those students to listen? That's your problem. What will you do?
But sir, listening without assimilation,
What?
listening without assimilation or without the movement of thought or connection of thought becomes purely physical, isn't it?
So, I asked you, what? You see, you're going off to accumulation of thought, accumulation of knowledge. I am asking you, how will you help them to listen? Rajesh, come on, sir.
Is it by showing the
Huh?
is it by showing the right relationship of that particular subject or principle that
I am
you
not
say
concerned
to
with
everything that is
you
around?
see, yeah, I'm not concerned with subjects for the moment. I want him to learn the art of listening.
Listen.
What am I to do?
Is attention something that has to take place by itself, or can it be brought about?
You're not answering my question, sir.
This connecting with that.
I want you to listen. You. Will you listen? will you listen to a statement, which may be false or true, that education is the whole study of the nature and the structure of human existence? Now, have you listened to that? Huh? Have you? What does that mean, that you have listened? Have you listened to the words and the meaning of the words? And therefore you say, yes, I have listened. Or have you listened to the content? You understand? I wonder if I'm making something clear. You see, it's like this. You have a general map of India, say, or Europe. And if you have a direction and you're going to a particular town or a village, you don't see the whole map, right? Because you're only concerned from here to there. So you neglect to observe the whole stretch of the map, right? Right? And in the same way, can you listen without direction to see the whole map, which is to see at one glance the whole movement of life? You understand what I'm saying? Which means you have to listen, not to what I am saying, to your own whole existence. I wonder if I'm making it clear. Your sorrows, your pleasures, your sex, your ambitions, your greed, envy, suffering, pain, anxiety, uncertainty, instability, wanting more, wanting this and more. You follow the whole of that. See it all at one blow, as it were. That is the art of listening. Listening to, when the man says, the academic life is necessary, but the whole of existence has to be learned, studied, learned. You understand? This probably is a little bit too abstract.
So maybe the difficulty comes because we go to the classroom primarily as subject teachers, and at least for the time being, we forget ourselves as human beings. We may not be at that moment.
Cut it out, the human being. Let's cut out.
We primarily think of ourselves as
yes.
subject teachers, and
yes.
we go there with a specific aim in our mind.
I understand.
So that probably prevents us from...
Now wait a minute, let's take that.
Yes.
I want to teach history, right? My concern is that they must learn, right? The capacity to learn, not my history, but I want them to have the quality of learning, right? Right, sir?
Yes.
Now, I want to teach history. I want them not only to know the Indian history, but the history of mankind. Right? Because mankind is the student. Mankind is the teacher. Right? So history is the story of man. Right, sir? And the story of man is the story of me and the story of the student. Right? Right? How we see? Now, how am I going to help him not only to learn the history of India, always colored, always prejudiced, always one-sided, and all history as written down is the history of what? Prejudice? Good. So, how am I going to teach him not only this particular Indian history, but the history of man? That's my concern. Right, sir? What shall I do? History of man. The story of man. Right? So I would say, look, we are going to discuss history, which means I'm going to discuss you and me. Right? Would you agree to that?
Yes.
Discuss, have a dialogue about you and about me. Then you follow. Wouldn't you be interested in it? No? Why do you sit that way? Why do you think that way? What are your reactions? You follow? No? Then from there move to the potty little Indian history. I don't know if I'm capturing what I'm saying. Right? Will you do that?
We have been doing that
Huh?
for quite some time now. We have been experimenting on this
Yeah.
quite some
Good.
time.
And equally mathematics.
The calculus too?
Huh?
The calculus too, the same way?
Yes, why not? Everything. In mathematics. Mathematics is sequence, which means order. Right? So I would say, look, what is order? Forget mathematics. Is your room in order? Are you in order? What does order mean? You follow?
Yeah.
So, my intention is that you should learn. So, what is learning? Is it academic accumulation of knowledge? If it is, and if that's only things with which we are concerned, then I say, I ask you, what is knowledge? Why do you want knowledge? About mathematics, history, geography, and all the blasted stuff. Why do you want it? And why do you accumulate knowledge? It may be about the Vedas, Upanishads, blah, all the rest of it, but still knowledge. So what is knowledge? Which is so praised, which is so respected, which is so, elevated to great status and all the rest of it. Man of great learning. Blah, I call it. It doesn't matter. What is great? Come on, sirs, you are...
Relating oneself to the total pattern.
Huh?
Relating oneself to the total pattern of the universe.
What is that?
Relating oneself to the total pattern of the universe.
Is it that
What is it?
perspective in totality?
I said knowledge, madam. I have learned about engineering, about pressure, strain, the whole business of mathematics and engineering. Why do in a school, college, why do I learn that?
First
I
thing
le-
is,
Huh?
if we don't learn like that, we don't get jobs. So
That's all.
again,
That's
survival.
quite right, sir.
How
That-
to survive?
That's I'm coming. That's all. Knowledge is used skillfully or unskillfully to acquire a job. That's all, right? Is that all knowledge?
That is not the knowledge.
We keep to that, sir. First, if that is knowledge, why do we give such tremendous importance to it?
Now, without that
Hey,
certificate, again, it is a question of survival and this and so.
It's a question of not survival.
How to lead a life?
I know.
Again, in the society, that is the problem.
Sir, please, sir. I become a professor. God forbid, I become a professor. Because I have learned, I've studied, I have accumulated tremendous lot of knowledge. And with that professorship goes a lot of money, prestige. I am an authority, right? Right? So, knowledge is used for status. No? So I say to myself, what is knowledge? Is that knowledge only about cars, how to drive a car, how to write, and so on, so on, so on? Is there any other kind of knowledge? And why has man given such terrific importance to that? Only because he gets more money? How to live?
Now, without security, how can we again think? Security is also important
Security
to
is
any
necessary. So, whose security?
person. Again, next meal.
Security of man.
Yes.
Huh? But if I use that knowledge to become to achieve a status, what's happened? And somebody else is better than me and becomes greater status, I feel insecure. This is all childish game. What are we all playing with? So I'm asking you, sirs, you are teaching the children, the student, to acquire academic knowledge in order to get a job. Right? Right? No?
Not necessarily.
Huh?
Not necessarily. I think there is something beautiful either about physics, mathematics, or biology. There is, I don't know, I can't explain, but it's absolutely beautiful to know something in detail about physics.
There
Mathematics.
is beauty, sir. We won't go into the word beauty. What do you mean by beauty?
It's something, I don't know, I can't
Ah, yes.
explain.
Oh, you can't,
It's
you can't
something
just skip.
The pattern in the nature.
Huh?
The pattern in the nature.
I'm asking, what is beauty?
The pattern, sir. The pattern
The-
of nature. Pattern.
Pattern of nature.
Yes.
When you see that flower, and you look at it and say how beautiful it is, what do you mean by that word beauty?
The color, the symmetry,
Well, yes, go on.
the unfolding of
Yes,
the flower.
there
from the
it
bud.
is. Yes.
All this going to
Uh, what does that flower say to you? Or what does that flower mean to you? Can you look at it, which is the appreciation of beauty? Can you look at it without your emotional projection about it? Without you being the center who is the observer.
It does happen, sir. Suppose you're reading a particular passage in physics or mathematics. It could be even nature. Just you are looking at a sunset. You just feel part of it. You don't think. You are not. I don't.
No, sir. I'm asking what is beauty. It's that's quite a complex problem, sir. Before you say there's beauty in physics and history and physiognomy and so on, I'm asking to myself, before I use that word, what do I mean by that word? And when do I really see beauty? When is there beauty?
When you are one with that particular thing. Yes. Without any.
Go ahead, sir.
Without any other thinkings. If
Which
you are
means
one with that one,
you made
then we are enjoying that beauty. We can.
You made a statement with when there is no thinking.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. Just observing.
Wait. When there is no thinking, when does that take place?
When it creates in you a sense of wonder and pleasure.
When you look at a mountain, the grandeur, the greatness, the depth, the solidity, the extraordinary sense of majesty of it, drives away yourself, doesn't it? Drives away your thoughts, your problems, that the wonder of it pushes you, right? Then there is some immediate perception of something which you call beauty. That is, the external thing has driven all your personal issues. That is, like a child with a toy. The toy is so interesting, he forgets to be naughty. But remove the toy, he becomes naughty. Right? So in the same way, can you look at something without any movement of thought? This leads to quite a different issue. I won't go into all that. Now, so we're asking, what am I to do as an educator to help the student? There are 10 of them in my class. Please discuss with me. It's no good. 10 of them in my class. I want them to listen. Because I'm going to teach them. I'm going to tell them about history, the facts and non-facts, the truth and the non-truth in history. I want to teach them. I want to help them. I want to help them to learn. That's my intention. So I want to capture all their interest, right? All their attention. Not one boy is paying attention, other doesn't. I want them all to pay attention, right? No? What am I to do? Come on, sir. You're a teacher.
Another question to you.
Huh?
As an educator, and when my whole idea is to catch their attention, to teach, can I do it without knowledge of history?
I am a teacher of history. I have acquired knowledge about history.
So knowledge is necessary.
I know I'm going to, but first I want all of them to pay attention to me, the 10 of them.
That is possible when you put whatever you are saying to them in the correct perspective in relation to everything else around, not just state facts.
You and I are not meeting each other.
No, what I mean to say is, can I pass or can I communicate this holistic attitude of life without myself having acquired the knowledge of history?
No,
Can I be an educator?
of course not.
Huh?
Of course
I cannot,
not.
isn't it? So knowledge is necessary for the educator to see life as a whole.
Oh,
knowledge is necessary for you to communicate history. Because you have knowledge of history, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a holistic perception.
So you put that knowledge in the correct perspective in relation to everything else.
How do you do that if you don't have a sense of wholeness, if you are not able to help the student listen without the medium of
He
history?
will listen to you only if you do that.
That is when you are relating the subject. Now we are not thinking in terms of the subject. To start with, supposing you don't have to teach history or mathematics, can you help them to pay attention? You don't teach mathematics history for 15 minutes, let us say. You talk about different things and you want them to pay attention. You are not bringing your knowledge of history and mathematics, but you can help them to pay attention. You are talking about some things which are very vital, relates to their own existence, your life. You are talking about it, let us say.
You can do that even by talking about not giving knowledge of history or mathematics, can't you?
Probably you can if you are able to knit the part to the whole. But acquisition of knowledge does not necessarily mean always is not. You become a specialist. You are talking about history in a very specialized way. And you are blind to the vital facts of living. And the boys are saying that. They say each one has his own pet subject, and he says, you work hard at my subject, it's very important. I'm not saying mathematics is not important, everything is important, but I think knowledge has a peculiar influence on you, it limits you. Unless you have the, what you're saying, holistic perception, whatever.
I think however integrated knowledge you give, the quality of the mind in the awakening of intelligence is very different from transference of a very integrated knowledge in relationship to the world. It's all, you can put whatever you like in it.
If there is no order outside the classroom, and if there is no learning outside the classroom, it is not possible to bring about this quality of learning within the classroom.
So the real crucial point you raised right at the beginning, what is the place of distraction?
What's the place of?
Distraction.
Distraction.
This weightage which you give between the knowledge you want to convey and the desire of the child to look at the tree. There's a weightage you give as one being more important than the other, and therefore one becoming a distraction. That is the divisive, fragmentary process. This weightage which we give in the mind to knowledge which you want to convey, and the desire of the child to look out of the tree. Now, the problem is the educator, when he is communicating to the child looks out of a tree. In what way can you complete that looking, which is the act of attention being born, which then is communicated to the act.
That's what we say, yes.
Isn't it really whether the teacher himself or the individual himself has this discriminatory process operating in him of the bigger, the lesser, the more
Right, we went into the measurement.
And it is that which is the crucial thing. It's not that knowledge is not important.
Could we stick to what, if I may point out most respectfully and all the rest of it? Aren't we moving away about what we're talking about? Which is, there are 10 students in front of me, each with his own interests, with his own condition, with his own peculiarities and habits and so on. And I want to teach them history. I want to teach them so that they listen to me. All of them, at the same time, not at the same time, because I'm only there for an hour or 40 minutes, whatever it is. I want them to listen. What am I to do? All of them to listen. Not one boy who's interested in history. And I have no sense of distraction. History may be also a distraction. So I have no, please believe me, personally, I have no sense of distraction.
I think that is the important point. I'm so full of this history that I may be so full of this history. I want to talk to them about. I have some specific aim in my mind. Won't that aim itself come as a source of distraction? Won't that itself act as a
don't push it too far, sir. Just a minute. I want to be clear on this point. I want to teach them history, Indian history and world history. And I want them to listen to me, all of them at the same time. What am I to do? Stick to that one thing, let's work it out. I want them to have knowledge about Indian history, which is the story of man. I have that. My background is, in my thinking, the story of man, not Indian man, not the Russian man or the American or the Swiss or Chinese man. So the story of man is him and me. And he must have the knowledge of Indian history. God knows why, but he must have it. So what am I to do? What am I to do, sir? Tell me.
I begin from wherever we are.
Huh?
Wherever the student is, I begin with that.
What do you mean, wherever he is?
In his thought.
No, sir, you are not. Please, sir. I want them all to listen. You haven't understood including all of them. Not one boy who is interested in history, but there are 10 boys in front of me and girls. I want them all to listen to what I have to say. What shall I do, Mr. Kabir? That's your name, sir, isn't it?
I would perhaps first listen to everything and then come back to history in a smooth flow.
Well, sir, maybe go on, sir. It's your problem, sir. Mr. Venkataraman and Mr. Narasimhan and so on, I don't know. What am I to do, sir? Don't look at me. See, it is not a problem to you. It's not something that we've got to resolve.
You have said something yourself. You said, I am not distracted.
I have no sense of distraction in me.
Yes.
Not you or not, but I personally, I have no sense of distraction. Tell me, what am I to do with those 10 boys and girls? Come on, sir.
The history of man, if I could tell them that it is the history of you and me.
What?
The history of man. It comes the history of you and me, the child and myself.
Yes.
If we could connect it that way.
Do it.
Yes,
I'm here now. No, I'm your student. I'm your
our past.
I'm your student, madam. Stick to it.
The history of yourself and mine, our passions, our feelings, our loves, our joys, our sorrows.
And you're going
all
on.
that will mean the history of what has happened in the past. If you could see that as a whole.
Will you capture their interest, all of them?
in our attempt not to pressurize the child into learning, we very often try to cajole him into learning, which is, I think, equally...
Of course.
And that's all we are trying to do all the while, trying to cajole him into being interested, trying to put a candy in front of him and say, look, this is so nice, why are you not interested?
Sir, Mr. Kabir, there are 40 of us here, or 50 of us here. All different prejudices and demands and all the rest of it, right? Now, will you all listen? To what? Suppose I am your teacher, you're all my students. I say something, and do you all listen? All together, not you listen and then I say, well, I'm go to hell. Do you all listen that way?
Can we say that we do?
No, I don't think so.
Huh?
I don't think so.
Quite right. There you are.
I don't know.
Huh?
We can't say I don't think so. I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
There may be a listening going on.
No, I am asking you, Chandramauli, I am asking you, there are 50 of us, are you all listening to this man who is talking? Listening to what he has to say? No, you don't. Therefore, you don't expect those 10 to do it.
The problem is, the teacher is not listening and he goes into the class with an expectation of covering a chunk of portion within 40 minutes.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't realize that if there is attention even for 10 minutes out of the 40 minutes,
Good enough.
That's good enough. He aims at 40 minutes of attention or concentration or whatever it is, and if there is a new car passing the way, or the old tractor
Yes,
passing
sir,
that
they all
way,
look out.
or clouds gather in the
Yes,
starts
sir.
raining, he doesn't look out, he doesn't allow the children to look out, so he's all the time concerned with covering something.
Sir.
I think that's a very big impediment.
Sir, you said something. If they give 10 minutes attention, that's good enough.
Yes, sir, sure.
During those 40 minutes. Now, wait, sir, just hold it. What shall I do with the rest of the 40 minutes? For 30 minutes. Now, this is important. Don't miss my point. I know if they can give 10 minutes of their complete attention, if you can give 10 minutes, you sitting in front, 10 minutes of complete attention, it's finished. Now, what will you do the rest of the 30 minutes? Which is as important as the 10 minutes. Right? What will you do? You can't seem to. Because you are still thinking in terms of distraction. Right, sir? I said, I have personally no distraction. Therefore, 40 minutes, you understand? There's no distraction in 40 minutes. No, you won't understand this. Now, come back. What shall I do with those 10 boys? And I'm teaching history. They must know history. It'll help them to live, get a livelihood and all the rest of it. I know all that. But my concern is also that all of them should pay attention to what I'm saying. What shall I do, sir?
Not to what you are saying, sir. All of us must pay attention.
Do it, sir. Do it.
When the teacher says to what I am saying, the problem comes.
No, I am a history teacher. You have employed me for that purpose. Don't just throw me out that way. You are paying me for that.
Why must they pay attention to what I am saying only?
No, sir. I am asking, you're all, what am I to do with those 10 boys, girls to whom I'm teaching this subject called history? I want them to pay attention, even for 10 minutes.
If I know those 10 students personally, their attitudes, their behavior, then I can think and then I can come to a common platform where I can pour my ideas, and then if I convey that to the students.
Now, what is the common interest among all those?
That if we know those 10
Wait,
students personally.
what is the common interest of all of you? Don't say the students. Here you are in front of them. What's the common interest in all of you?
Again, educating the students.
Huh?
Ourselves.
How we move away to the poor students all the time. What's our common interest? What is the common interest of all those 10 boys? You should know. You're their teacher. What is the common interest? Not to be in the class. Right? Right? Right, sir? Would you agree to that? Oh, no, come on, sirs. Right? I said, don't have a class. You are missing my point. Go to slowly. If that is the common interest of those boys and girls, I say, all right. Don't have a class. If you don't have a class, what are you going to do? You say, what are you going to do? I'm going to pin them to it. What are you going to do? Climb a tree? All right. Climb a tree all together. You follow? What is your common interest? So you see what you are creating in them? I wonder if you see it. So if it is walk, let's all walk together. Swim, let's go. You follow? This sense of, you know what I'm doing? What is taking place? Huh?
Sense of
Together.
Huh?
together.
Comradeship.
Huh?
Comradeship.
No.
Doing it together.
Yes, sir. Doing something together. Right? What you follow? If you can, what are people talking about? I am telling you this. Why don't you do it?
Why should they have a common interest?
Huh?
Why should 10 young boys have a common interest?
I don't tell them that.
No, but you say discover the common interest.
I find out because I as a teacher, I'm interested watching the students. They're playing, running, jumping, shouting, eating. I'm watching them. I know more or less their way of thinking. So when they come to my class, history, I said, I'm not going to talk history. I'm not going to, that comes later, but I want them to have a relationship with me. So what is my relationship to them? Go on, sir. What is my relationship to them? What's your relationship to these students?
Aren't all of those students basically interested in themselves, as we all
Yes,
are?
yes. But I'm asking, what is your relationship as educator to the student? Don't say it should be love, care, beauty, actual fact. What's your relationship?
But where is the unifying
No, madam, I'm not talking about unifying relationship. These are the teachers. What is their relationship to the student? What's your relationship, madam, to your students? Honestly, not theoretically, actually.
Actually, I am a teacher and
Huh?
students.
She said, actually, I'm a teacher and they are the students.
It is reality.
Yes, you are the teacher and they are students. What does that mean?
We're all in the same boat.
That's right, sir. We are all in the same boat, right? What's your relationship? You don't. So you talk to them, you live with them, what is your relationship, for God's sake?
Friendly relationship.
How can I describe my relationship with them in one word?
Oh, yes, you can.
There might be many.
Oh, no. Relationship is relationship. What is your relationship with your wife? Not this, that, the other. I'm not talking about you personally, sir. Is it total relationship or a partial relationship?
Not total at all.
It's a partial relationship. Huh? Right, sir?
Yes.
So you are the teacher and they are down below. Right? Or you follow a degree. So is that any relationship? Huh?
No.
Don't say no, but
Now when we are
break it, change it. Which means have you any relationship with your husband, with your wife, with your neighbor, with your other teacher? Or is it all just words? Total relationship implies love, not an abstraction love. If I am a teacher, my relationship with the student is total relationship. That means I'm concerned about their food, about their clothes, about their walk, about the way they behave, everything I'm concerned. Not just mathematics. Then when they meet me in the class, they know I care. Look, here you are, my class. I feel totally responsible for you. That's why I spend my blood and my... But you don't care. Right? And they don't care. Right, sir? So, can we, as educators, have this sense of profound responsibility? Not to my family, my little husband and my little sex and my little children. Total responsibility for man, for the students who are going out of this world to the world thrown to wolves. So you see, that's what I'm... How shall we move together in this matter? How shall I, as I feel personally total responsibility, when I'm talking, when I'm meeting people, I feel this, maybe cuckoo, but that's my way. And I say, if I'm a teacher, how shall I, with those 10 students, convey, or rather, help them to learn and listen to me as a whole group of students? You haven't answered my question.
So the sense of responsibility in each one of us may create further conflicts.
Further conflict?
I feel that a child must be kept warm and
oh no! Don't reduce. Don't reduce to that absurdity, madam.
These responsibilities and conflict.
No. If that is so, let's talk about it.
I think that's very small matter, really.
Let's talk about what it implies responsibility. All of us. Not you feel responsible and I don't care.
No, you do care in a different area.
No. Care is care, not different. How do we, as a group of people, group of teachers, feel responsible together? Not I'm responsible, you are not. Together, how should we have this feeling that we are together responsible for the whole of this place, for all the students? How shall we do it? Is responsibility a matter of opinion? The students should have right kind of food. Which means we study what's the right kind of food. All of us. If I study and say this is right, and you don't, you want hot, this, that, the other thing, there's conflict. But if we say, look, let's study this thing together, find out all together. Or if you say, look, I give you the responsibility of finding out what's the best. And you are not bringing your personal taste, you say this is best. And because we have appointed you, we say we'll accept it. Right? So, do we that way work together and feel totally responsible? Or you're all bored? You see, first, I know, there are these 10 boys and girls in front of me. And I'm a teacher of history. For the moment, I'm not interested in teaching history. Right? Are you following this? I am not interested. And also I know deeply within myself, I have no sense of distraction. Then I proceed. I said, let's forget history. I want to know them. I want to know them, what they think, what they feel, how they react. I said, you tell me all about yourself, because that's the history of man. I said, tell me all about yourself, what you enjoy, what you like, what you don't like, whether you slept properly, you follow, you know. Because then they will know I really care. It's not an act it's not an act which I just pretend. I want to know what they think. Because there's history of man. Right? So I spend a lot of time on that. $30 on that. Will you do that? Huh? Will you do it, sir? I want to know why they put on that kind of dress, which is out of taste. It's not good taste. Contradictory colors, which doesn't go together. So I would go into it. I say, let's talk about taste. Why do you keep your fingernails dirty? You follow? God's sake, what? Why do you sit so bunched up like this? Then let's find out if you're doing the right kind of exercise. You follow? I don't have to tell you all this. So I have their interest, right? Then when I talk about history, they listen. They come from one class crashing into another class with 2 minutes interval or 5 minutes interval. I say, all right, crash and sit quietly. Let's talk about it. Well, you follow? I am not a history teacher. That comes a little later. I am a human being and they are human beings. So I slip in talking about them, I slip into history. You follow? Story of man. I say, look what's happening. You have their complete attention. All of them. Right, sir? What do you say?
Sir, it's not what we do, it's what we are that matters. And the whole problem comes in there.
Therefore, I say, look, to the student, you and I are the same boat. Psychologically, you are like me. I may know history, but I have my problems. I'm anxious, I'm frightened, I may lose my job. And so let's talk about it. You follow? I don't mind. I'm not proud. I'd say, look, then they trust you. Right?
I think it can be easily done. I think that rapport can be established first.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
First,
all this is very easy, but then there's something much more than this that comes in. This is very easy, sir. To talk to the child very frankly that I and you are in the same boat. The child sees that the teacher is not pretentious of what that he knows.
All right.
But when you come to the class, when you are yourself anxious about something.
No, I'm not.
I'm not in the state of I have no distraction. I have distraction.
No, therefore wipe it out. For God's sake, work at it. Find out what you mean distraction. Don't take 10 years to find a simple thing. Give your whole time to it. Find out what you mean distraction. Distraction exists only when one thought has said this is important and nothing else. Or this is the point from which you must act. Or this is the point on which you must concentrate. Then there is distraction all around.
Sir, all that you say becomes another idea. It just
No.
goes into the same stream.
No. Either it is a fact, which means what? Either you are listening or you are making what you hear into an abstraction. Listen without abstraction. When you have pain, you don't make an abstraction. Right? It is there. In the same way, the fact that thought creates one pattern and any movement away from that pattern is a distraction. See the truth of it, the fact. If you see the fact, then that fact operates. I don't have to operate on the fact. Now, sir, if I may ask, you have listened to me for an hour and a quarter, nearly an hour and a half. Where are you? Where are you? Or are you still caught up in distraction and no distraction? Or are you still saying, I don't feel responsible. Narayan is responsible. Or are you saying, oh, Radha, have you any relationship with the student? Or your only relationship is exchange of knowledge? Informing about history? Or do you feel a total responsibility as a human being? So I'm asking, sir, at the end of an hour and a half, an hour and a half, where are we? All right, sir, let me put it down the other way. What's your relationship with each other and with me? Please, can't you answer this?
With you, it is very simple. Of
What?
total trust.
Why? The name of names, why? You don't know me.
It doesn't matter to me. I feel a sense of total trust.
Why? Go into it, sir. It's very simple. Why? Do you have trust? You know, when I ask Mr. Narayan, Pupul Jayakar asked me long ago if Narayan couldn't come back here. She was the first person to suggest Narayan should come here. after several years, late when there was trouble between Balson and all the rest of it, I asked Narayan at Brockwood. He was still a teacher at one of the schools in England. I said, Narayan, what's your relationship with me? If there is any kind of distrust, any kind of doubt, any kind of apprehension with regard to me and you, then don't go. Don't go. Right? I'm telling you. So I said, if you trust and I trust you, then go. Now, because we talked about him a great deal, Lakshmikant says to me, I trust you. Why? It's a very serious question, sir. I'm not just playing with words. Why? Why do you listen to me?
Because you are so concerned about the whole of education.
And that's why you listen to me? Hmm? Is that why you listen to me?
Yes.
Huh? Are you really concerned with the whole of education? That means total responsibility to see the child is brought up correctly?
Yes.
No, madam, don't say yes so easily.
Can I not say yes and yet be
Huh?
aware that I can make a lot of mistakes?
Huh?
Can I not say yes and yet be aware that I might make a lot of mistakes?
Of course. So don't.
I will correct it.
Yes, but don't quickly say yes I am. It means nothing. So I'm asking, sir, this gentleman suggested you trust me. And I said, why? Do you trust me? If you're really, seriously honest.
So you're totally unbiased.
Lady, I asked you a question. I said, do you trust me?
Yes.
Why? All right. If you trust me, what is trust? What is implied in trust? You may trust me, but I may not trust you.
That's true.
Wait. No.
That's very true. You could.
You don't understand what I'm saying. So it must be mutual. Trust means trust. You trusting each other. Right? So do you trust me? He says yes. Then do I trust him? Which means trust implies confidence. Trust implies honesty. No double dealing. Trust implies a sense of mutual care, affection, love is involved in that. He may say, I have that sense with you. I may have it, I have it in myself. Therefore, it's not, I don't. So, do we all trust each other? That is, if you have the quality and the feeling of trust, you understand? Then it's like water flowing. Right, sir? I think it's important that we meet again, all of us. Right, Narayan? often, before I go away. You arrange it, I'll adjust myself to you.
I thought we'll meet next weekend again, next Saturday and Sunday.
But before that too.
Tuesday and Thursday you're talking to the students as
Yes,
you sang.
yes, yes.
But if you like to meet in
This is important because we are the educators. That is if they want it. I'm not pushing myself onto you.
We'll arrange it.
Huh?
We'll arrange it, yes.
Do any of you do meditation? Or is that a catchword? Not the TM meditation, I don't mean that. That's nonsense.
Shall we talk about this when you meet next?
Huh?
About meditation?
Yes, delighted
And,
about anything.
Its relationship to teaching and living?
Yeah, let's do it. I can't talk about football.